Hello everybody, welcome back to another video here on the channel. Ninja Wars MC here, and today we are going to be ranking every Star Wars show and movie on tiermaker.com. We have everything except the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, so I can just change S here to Skeleton Crew. Or no, maybe not S tier, maybe it's like an A tier show. Crew, done, and then D tier 2. Not acoustic, Acolyte. Done. Okay, so that sums up my opinion on the two shows that aren't on the list. As for movies and stuff, we have everything else. So let's get started with A New Hope. A New Hope is awesome. It's the Star Wars movie that's started it all. I'd say A New Hope is a A-tier Star Wars project. It did everything right. It set up the franchise like perfectly. Like, I wouldn't be, if A New Hope was bad, I wouldn't be in this room ranking Star Wars videos, Star Wars movies probably. Oh, and moving on from something great to something not so great, we have Ahsoka. Ahsoka, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna put it in F tier. I did not like Ahsoka. It was not too good. It was just boring. All it really was just Ahsoka creeping around on weird planets. Yeah, so that is an F tier show. Or you know what, maybe Acolyte tier. I think the Acolyte and Ahsoka are on par. I know that's a bit of a hot take, but the only redeeming quality it really has is Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin Skywalker. That was really cool, and he just like popped off in their lightsaber duel. And that one flashback episode, it was cool to see like the Siege of Mandalore and Captain Rex, and it really shocked me actually how young Ahsoka was during that, but yeah, other than that, I did not enjoy the show, just boring. I don't really care all that much about the Rebels characters either, so yeah, I'm not really a diehard Rebels fan, so like seeing Ezra and Sabine and Hera and stuff like that in live action doesn't really trigger the same reaction out of me. So, next up is Andor. Okay, Andor 2, probably a B. It's just a kind of mid-tier show in my opinion. I know a lot of people like it because it's like darker and gritty and like more real of a Star Wars show. Though I don't know, I find like the more wacky like fantasy Star Wars to be a lot funner. Like, I don't find a more realistic Star Wars story as cool as like a less realistic one. Like, I try to use Star Wars as a way to like take myself out of reality and like enjoy this epic like crazy cool world. So when I watch Andor, I don't know, it doesn't really take me out and transport me into this fantasy place. It's weird. One of the things a lot of people love about Andor is something that I don't really enjoy about it. So yeah, Andor is just a mid-tier show. It's not terrible like Ahsoka or anything, but I'm not the biggest Andor fan. Like, it's what they do, I think they do it decently well. Like, the story I enjoyed, like or at least the first little bit of it, or I guess the final battle of the first little bit of it, when they, like, flip that speeder over and stuff, that's cool. So yeah, just a mid-tier Star Wars show. Attack of the Clones. Well, I think Attack of the Clones is, I don't know, don't think it's as bad as the Acolyte and Ahsoka, but at the same time, C tier almost seems generous. Attack of the Clones is definitely the worst of the prequel movies. I feel like if Attack of the Clones was like a good, like a movie, I'd say on par with The Phantom Menace. I enjoyed The Phantom Menace. I think not the sequels, the prequels would have been the best trilogy. But I don't know, it just wasn't Anakin's Riz is not on point whatsoever. Like, that was just very awkward. And, I think redeeming qualities for it were probably the final battle. And, yeah, the final battle was really cool. I mean, I love me some clone troopers. That was awesome. And, yeah. Oh, yeah, and Yoda and Dooku's duel was also really cool. Jango Fett was a cool character, and one thing, you know what, I would move it up to S tier. Like, just a few things changed because this movie had Coleman Trevor in it, the greatest Star Wars character ever, and his heroic last stand. No, in all seriousness, Coleman Trevor gets cut down in, like, 2 seconds. It's a C tier movie. It's probably my 4th least favorite Star Wars movie. And then, yeah, that's all for Attack of the Clones. Next, Obi-Wan Kenobi. This really probably should have just been a, like, hour and a half long movie. I'm gonna put it with B tier, another, like, mid-tier Star Wars project. I was hoping to get a few more, like, good heavy hitters, like, off the bat here. But yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, just, I don't know what to say about it. There isn't too much that hasn't really been said. I have a lot of the common issues with it, like the fact that Obi-Wan just follows around a 10-year-old Princess Leia like she's, like, the same commander she is when she's, like, in her prime, which has always confused me a little bit. Reva was just a really confusing character. I can just not get a grasp on what her, like, ideals are or what her goal even is. Like, I think the show would have been better if Reva wasn't in it and they just, like, chose somebody like the Grand Inquisitor, or even just a more, like, Inquisitor who doesn't have to be deep, but he's still cool. Like, I forget his name. I want to say he's the big one with the white face. Please let me know in the comments. I cannot remember him. I want to say, like, the third brother or something. Come on! I was hoping to get a few more good heavy hitters. Star Wars Resistance. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, no, Star Wars Resistance just is not it. It's an odd show. A story about the Resistance, just automatically, that doesn't sound exciting whatsoever. I do not want to watch a story about the Resistance. I think they were almost trying to capture what they did with Rebels. But people like the Rebellion. People don't like the Resistance. So, I don't know, the concept of Rebels was already odd enough. Or not odd, but just, like, different enough. Especially with it being a Star Wars, like, the first few seasons being a lot more childish. But they ramped that up. This was an insanely, like, just lighthearted Star Wars show. And I don't mean lighthearted like Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew was kind of fun for that. How it wasn't too, like, it was just a good fun adventure with kids in the galaxy. This is just the Resistance walking around their bases. I've, like, found, like, plot synopsises and stuff. I tried to watch the first episode, but the animations just really hurt the eyes and I couldn't really take it, so F tier show. I know I haven't watched the entirety of it, but if I were to take an educated guess from the stuff that I know about it, F tier. Now, Star Wars Return of the Jedi. This is a great movie. I'd actually say it's probably better than A New Hope. I really enjoyed Return of the Jedi. I'd say it's Skeleton Crew tier, better than A New Hope, but like not maybe entirely S tier. It's a really great movie. Anakin fulfilling the prophecy, Palpatine, Luke, like it was so cool. If this was the culmination to Star Wars, I would be so happy. But no, it was the rise of Palpatine. But anyways, moving on. Here we go. Here's the heavy hitters I was hoping for. Revenge of the Sith, S tier. I love Revenge of the Sith. And it's weird, because it's a darker movie, too. But the problems I had with Andor weren't really necessarily the darkness, but the realness of it. It was dark, and it kept the fantasy feel that Star Wars has. It's so awesome. Palpatine just, like, plays Anakin like the piano. It's, like, the way he, like, slowly manipulates him, and the CGI is awesome. The Battle of Coruscant's one of my all-time favorite battles. Obi-Wan is on point with the one-liners. Like, almost all my favorite iconic Star Wars lines are from that movie. Hello there. Another happy landing. It's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. Oh, that stuff is just stuff of legends that repeats in my head every night to make sure that I sleep soundly. But yeah, Revenge of the Sith was an awesome movie. Just absolutely great. Rogue One. I enjoyed Rogue One. It was another, like, that same sort of Andor-verse, I guess, is all slightly, like, more real Star Wars, I guess. But I enjoyed it more than the Andor show, probably. Like, because it was still, like, a Star Wars story, and honestly, it surprised me that all the main characters die at the end. I did not think Star Wars would do that. They're not really ones for killing off main characters, unless it's the Star Wars sequel trilogy, where they don't really care for any of George Lucas's main characters and are willing to kill them off, like, with if the villain were to show up and flick his finger, like Luke Skywalker or Leia or Han or somebody would just die. They don't really care about killing off main characters, but still, like, the main characters that you follow throughout the entire movie all die at the end, and that was honestly a pretty interesting idea. So, yeah, I enjoyed it more than Andor. At the same time, it's still that ever so slight bit more real, but it's almost less real than Andor. And yeah, the effects and stuff are on point. Darth Vader's hallway rampage is, in my opinion, actually some peak Star Wars. That was awesome. Just the rebels were helpless. I feel bad for them. Okay, now this is going to be a bit of a hot take. Solo. I like Solo more than I like Rogue One. I'm going to put that at the top of B tier. I just think it's a more interesting story. Like, the origin story of Han Solo, I find way cooler than how the Death Star plans showed up in, A New Hope. Like, it was, like, sure, some of the characters I wasn't too hooked on. Like, Kira was just, I don't really think she did all that much. And it feels odd seeing Han, like, dating somebody other than Leia, which was a bit awkward. Kira wasn't my favorite character, but still, I thought it was a cool movie seeing how we got the Millennium Falcon, met Lando, met Chewie, how we ended up sort of in the spot that he was in A New Hope, like, living on Tatooine, sort of working jobs for Jabba, and yeah, it was a really cool story. I really enjoyed it. Just, there's something about it just holding it down from the Skeleton Crew in S tier. Now we have Star Wars Visions. Star Wars Visions, I'd actually say is A tier show. It's really cool. I enjoy anime and I enjoy Star Wars, so seeing Star Wars anime was really cool. I know Star Wars Visions Season 2 is out right now. I haven't actually watched that yet. I've just watched Season 1 where it was all anime, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was cool. Like, is it entirely canon? No, probably not. But, like, I saw, like, the art styles and stuff was a really cool take on the Star Wars galaxy. Like, I love seeing, like, futuristic stuff like Star Wars in that style, so that was actually really interesting. I really enjoyed it. Tales of the Empire up next. Tales of the Empire, C tier. They tried to capture what Tales of the Jedi, which is up next, did, and, no, they just didn't do it. Again, Ahsoka characters, Morgan Elsbeth, I don't really care for whatsoever. I did not need to know her backstory. I could probably have just assumed that she survived the massacre on Dathomir and went to meet Admiral Thrawn. Like, it's pretty much the backstory that's unsaid, but everybody, like, who's watched the Clone Wars and stuff can guess it pretty easily. That was a story I didn't need to see, and I feel like Barriss Offee's story was also a lot of, like, wasted potential. Like, I feel like they had tons of potential to make her the character that the Inquisitor who's the same species as her that we see in Rebels. I can't remember any of the Inquisitor's numbers right now. The sixth sister, I don't know. But yeah, that would have been really cool, because we have no clue what her past is, and she's also the same species as Barriss. So that would have been cool. But no, instead, she became an Inquisitor for like 2 seconds and was like, I don't feel good about this, goodbye. And then she sort of just became like this like healer living in the forest or something. Yeah, it wasn't a story that, again, it was a lot of missed potential. In my opinion, Tales of the Jedi, which we have up next here, Tales of the Jedi is way better. Say that's a Skeleton Crew tier. Maybe in front of Star Wars Visions, or not. I think that's good too. Yeah, Tales of the Jedi was awesome. Dooku, really, really cool character. I love to see more of him. I love to see more Dooku, the Count. And yeah, his backstory about like how he slowly became like disillusioned with the Jedi Order, and Yaddle was actually a character that I didn't expect to enjoy so much. Like, I mean, sure, it's always cool seeing more of the Yoda species, but yeah, Yaddle was really cool, and how, yeah, her and Dooku's like final duel, and why she was in the Phantom Menace but not in Attack of the Clones, helped to explain that. That was really cool. And then, yeah, the story with Ahsoka, too, how she was training with the 501st, and that's how she was able to hold them off during Attack of the Clones. That, when I watched the Siege of Mandalore and, like, the following Order 66 arc again, the payoff felt even better when Ahsoka was deflecting all of those blaster bolts. Yeah, and then the Inquisitor story in the farm, like, of all the stories that happened during Tales of the Jedi, that was probably the weakest, but it still wasn't a bad story. It was still really cool. Yeah, so Tales of the Jedi, awesome show. Next up, the Bad Batch. Bad Batch and Clone Wars, they kept them like that. That'd be some A-tier content. But then Omega showed up and turned them into the Dad Batch. And now, if it's like the Mandalorian and Yoda dynamic, like, with Mando kind of being the dad and Yoda being and Baby Yoda being the kid, that'd be really cool. But no, Omega's technically older than all the Bad Batch, so they listen to her, I guess, even though they're aging twice as fast, thus they're kind of like twice as mature, and like they're the Dad Batch, but at the same time Omega's their mom figure, sort of. It's weird, very strange dynamic. I don't like Omega. She's kind of whiny, and I feel like she has a lot of clashing ideals with the Bad Batch, at least in the earlier seasons, and when she does nothing but, like, whine to get her way, like the War Chest episodes, those I did not like, because when they were, like, leaving it behind or whatever, she was just like, the War Chest, I need the War Chest. Just shut up, Omega, please. Stop. Yeah, I do not like Omega. If she wasn't in the Bad Batch, I'd say probably an A-tier show. Like, their story is just going around the Outer Rim, like, sort of bounty hunting, but not. But no, I'd say that sends it down to a B-tier show. Book of Boba Fett, I'm actually going to say is A-tier. I liked Book of Boba Fett. I understand that people don't like that they made, like, Boba Fett sort of like a good guy in the Book of Boba Fett, but I still thought it was a really cool story, like, just taking it for what it is. Yeah, Boba Fett, I think, yeah, he was a character who I think they did well in this show. I know that's a bit of a hot take. I think they did well with him, like, trying to rule with respect and stuff, because he'd, like, seen the flaws of Jabba, he'd seen the flaws of Bib Fortuna, and now it's his turn to rule Tatooine, and so he's gonna do it, and he's gonna do it right. And then, I understand there was, like, the episodes of The Mandalorian, sort of the season 2.5, I didn't mind that. I love seeing more Mando and Yoda. I love The Mandalorian. So yeah, I think Book of Boba Fett is actually an A-tier show. Next up, we have the Clone Wars movie. Clone Wars movie, probably a high B tier. It's just season 1 Clone Wars arc. It's not that special. If it was the first 3 episodes of Clone Wars, I wouldn't have really cared. That's usually all I look at it as. I've watched it maybe once or twice. But yeah, remember that was my first impression on the Clone Wars, and that did get me excited for the rest of the show. Stinky the Hutt was kind of cute, and I like his name, Stinky the Hutt. That's pretty funny. But yeah, Stinky the Hutt, only redeeming quality. No, I guess not. Some of the action was cool too, seeing Rex and Ahsoka and Anakin and Obi-Wan in their Clone Wars bodies, forms, selves, I guess, was cool. So yeah, really high B tier show, like almost A tier if it was more like the later seasons of the Clone Wars, but now we have the Clone Wars. S tier. S tier, I love the Clone Wars, it's awesome. It makes everything in Revenge of the Sith even better, and Revenge of the Sith was already a great standalone movie, so the Clone Wars made it even awesomer. And then Ahsoka, who I really don't like her solo series, but I had nothing wrong with her character in that. I think Ahsoka was a really cool character in the Clone Wars, and even in her show, I still had nothing wrong with her. The rest of her show wasn't really living up to her hype. Darth Maul's story, that was awesome. The droids, the clones. Sure, seasons 1 and 2 were a bit more, like, childish, but I don't mind that. Like, once you get to season 3, just, mwah, gorgeous. Clone Wars is awesome. Every single arc from there on out's pretty much, like, the best self it could have been. Highlights like Umbara, Siege of Mandalore, yeah, there's tons of great stuff in there, and we got so many new characters, so much more, like, world building, like, tons and tons of new planets, new species, new characters, like Echo, Fives. Fives is probably my second favorite clone trooper, after Rex. Jesse's just sort of a, like, random character that I really like, and, yeah, so many great clone troopers. That's how I grew to love the clones, and I'm now building a giant Lego clone army. So, yeah. Empire Strikes Back, another S tier, another great Star Wars show, probably better than the Clone Wars. If I can move it here, I guess not. But yeah, Empire Strikes Back, awesome. Like, sequels can usually make or break a franchise. Sometimes you can have a great first movie, have a bad sequel, and then your entire franchise just goes down the drain. Or you can have a great movie, a great sequel, and your franchise flourishes, like Star Wars, giving way to tons more movies and spin-off shows and lore. And, like, this was the make or break point of Star Wars. It was either gonna become a franchise, or it was just gonna be another big 80s hit that, like, dies by the year 1990. And this, like, kept Star Wars chugging along, like, to this day. It's still a pop culture icon. Luke, I am your father. That's such a surprising, one of the greatest twists in cinema history. All the characters, like, they could have completely changed their personalities from the first movie, but no, they kept it. Yoda, love Yoda. Lando, Boba Fett, all these awesome characters introduced in that movie. We got more set up for who the Emperor is and how Vader, like, is, like, honestly just kind of a puppet. And yeah, awesome movie. Next up, we have The Force Awakens. Force Awakens, I actually enjoyed. I think it's better than Attack of the Clones. So yeah, Force Awakens, I think really back of A tier, not show, movie. It's kind of just all the same things that New Hope was. But at the same time, in comparison to the rest of the sequel trilogy, it's really played safe, and in a trilogy like that, the one you played safe is probably the best one you played. Next two in the lineup didn't do so well. But yeah, The Force Awakens, it kind of did just seem like a knockoff of A New Hope, but when you're knocking off something as gorgeous as A New Hope, it's honestly destined to be pretty good. I enjoyed it. I actually liked the characters of Rey and Finn and Poe Dameron and all those people up until the next movie in the timeline, The Last Jedi. I was actually excited to see where they would take the characters. I mean, sure, Rey was a bit overpowered, and Kylo Ren was, like, cool up until the final act when he started taking his helmet off more and just, like, when he was, like, this monstrous villain, he was really cool. But then when they tried to take the helmet off and humanize him a bit more, it actually kind of got less interesting. I feel like I would have, like, been sold on the Ben Solo aspect more if he would have taken his helmet off later on. But yeah, sure, Rey being overpowered was a bit odd, but if the last two movies would have done better, maybe I would have shrugged that over a bit more. Like, maybe Rey is, like really powerful. Okay, sure, she is really powerful in the Force, but still, like, I probably would have shrugged that off if the next two movies were better. Like, they don't have to explain it, but still, I would have probably felt better if it was actually a good trilogy. Because next up, we have yet another F-tier Star Wars installment. We have The Last Jedi. Whoomp whoomp. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Everything that could have been wrong with that movie probably is wrong. They butchered Luke Skywalker, who, if I have to bring him up again, I'll call Dave Skywalker, because it's just not him. He's literally not him. He's literally just Luke Skywalker, this, like, hopeful hero who's been, like, everybody's childhood hero for, like, 3 generations. He's now a depressed old man, milking these things called moofs. And fun fact, the moofs, the animals that he milks for green milk, there's a job in the Star Wars galaxy called a moof milker. And it's considered one of the most depressing jobs in the entire Star Wars galaxy, to the point where if you call somebody a moof milker, it's considered an insult. So he literally just became a depressed moof milker. Like, they ruined Luke Skywalker, like, and just the minute some dark, unhappy thoughts showed up in his nephew's head, he tried to kill him in his sleep. Like, they lived together. Couldn't he have just, like, talked about it at breakfast? Just like, hey, kid, we need to talk, maybe work a few things out here. I know you're having some bad thoughts, but we can work through this. Like, that's the Luke Skywalker I know and what he would have done. So Luke Skywalker, no, let's go just, like, full-on, like, horror movie style and try and kill him in his sleep. Because that's what I do. Yo, I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm a cold-blooded murderer. But no. And then Rey, they just ruined. She didn't even have any real Force training. She just went into a cave, came out, and then next thing you know, she can do, like, feats that, like, Yoda and people would struggle to do. So yeah, just not a good movie. But next, we have another S-tier Star Wars show. The Mandalorian. I love The Mandalorian. Mando is awesome. I love him. I love Grogu. I love all the side characters. Even Season 3, which is a bit more controversial, I still really enjoy. I thought it was a, like, great finale. Just a great show altogether. Like, the characters are on point. The story is on point. The villains are on point. Like, everybody's on point. Like, where Mando lies in the morality spectrum, that's on point. Like, the New Republic, like, showing what that was like for, like, the 3 years it existed until the sequels came and ruined everything. That was cool. Like, I actually really enjoy the New Republic as a faction. It was cool to see them. And yeah, so all around, awesome show. Love Grogu. I think it's one of the only Disney Star Wars projects that's actually done legacy characters well. Can't really think of a time they did anything bad with a legacy character in that. Boba Fett was great. Luke Skywalker was great. Fennec Shand was great. Like, everybody was great. Great. Okay, next up we have The Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace, second favorite prequels movie. I love The Phantom Menace. I'd say it would have to go up here among the greats in Skeleton Crew tier. That was a really cool movie. Duel of the Fates is so awesome. The fact that they had to, like, slow it down in pre-production because Obi-Wan and Maul's actors were just, like, going completely ham and just, like, moving at, like, superhuman speeds, and they had to, like, literally slow it down. like so cool. I wish I could have seen like their actual like superhuman looking fight. That would have been so cool. Qui-Gon was a cool character, how he's almost like a, not necessarily rogue Jedi, but like almost a Jedi who's just like questioning the decisions of the Council. That was cool. We got to see what the Jedi were like before the original trilogy. That was really cool. Second best prequel movie in my opinion. I know a lot of people like to like say that The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, which is a more commonly disliked Star Wars movie, like, are the exact same, but no, The Phantom Menace is just way better. And now, we're not ending it off on a high note, are we? The Rise of Palpatine. It's not as bad as The Last Jedi, second worst Star Wars movie in my opinion. It's just, like, honestly, I feel bad for J.J. Abrams because he was like trying his best. He kicked things off really well, and then Rian Johnson showed up, completely changed the story, and then just like leaving his ideas in scraps. So when he finally came back, he had to like frantically put together something with the few pieces that he had in a really tight schedule, like to get the entire movie done in just a few years, and it didn't turn out well. Like, it's just not a good movie. Somehow Palpatine Returned is terrible. Like, the dialogue is, like, bland at worst and, like, bland at best, cringeworthy at worst. Kylo Ren, his redemption arc was not done right. I don't even think Kylo Ren necessarily needed a redemption arc. Rey is just as ridiculously overpowered as ever. She's probably trained for like 5 more minutes between the events of the 2 movies. And now she's like on like Yoda tier power to the point where she's like killing Palpatine in his absolute like pure like best point ever when she kills Palpatine at his strongest with maybe a day or 2 of training at most. Like, Palpatine in a weaker state. Yoda, the most powerful Jedi ever, was not able to beat. Mace Windu, one of the other most powerful Jedi. Even Luke Skywalker, chances are, probably couldn't have beat him if it weren't for Darth Vader, like, returning to the light side as Anakin Skywalker, like, betraying him. Like, he was completely caught off guard there, and just like, there is no way that Rey could have beaten Palpatine. I don't believe that. And it feels like they were just trying to one-up everything George Lucas had done with, like, the 11,000 Star Destroyers and, like, the millions and millions of ships just appearing, even though we know that's not really possible, because when they tried to do that in the last movie, nobody really cared or came to help. So, yeah. Couldn't end it off on a high note, but that's my official Star Wars tier list. We have Revenge of the Sith, Clone Wars, Mandalorian, and Empire in S tier. In A tier, we have A New Hope, Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi, Visions, Tales of the Jedi, Book of Boba Fett, and The Force Awakens. B tier, we have Solo, Clone Wars, movie, not the Clone Wars show. Clone Wars show stays up in S tier. We have Andor, Bad Batch, Rogue One, and Kenobi. Then we have Attack of the Clones, Tales of the Empire in C tier, Ahsoka in Acolyte tier, and the terrible sequels plus Resistance in F tier. So yeah, that's the official Ninja Wars MC Star Wars tier list. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. Ninja Wars MC, out.